So let's begin. And our readers are Kian, Bahin Ain, and we have Nikki Daniels and Shannon Crossbear will be reading these readings. Thank you.
God, O thou who cast thy splendor over the luminous realities of men, shedding upon them the resplendent lights of knowledge and guidance, and hast chosen them out of all the created things for the supernal grace, and hast caused them to encompass all things, to understand their inmost essence, and to disclose their mysteries, bringing them forth out of darkness into the visible world. He verily showeth his special mercy to whomsoever he will.
Take what you need for your sustenance without a sense of entitlement or ownership.
Shannon, you're on mute. Sorry.
Thank you. Who created the waters and the plants? Who yoked the swiftness of the winds and the motion to the clouds? For I beheld Ahura Mazda, wise Lord, as the primeval source of creation.
The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and protect it.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven.
The world is green and beautiful, and Allah has appointed you his guardian over it.
Nature is God's will and is its expression in and through the contingent world.
I want to be a good ancestor. Indigenous peoples' commitments to climate action ensure that we are thinking of the 7 generations to come.
O thou kind Lord, O thou who art generous and merciful, we are servants of thy threshold, and are gathered beneath the sheltering shadow of thy divine unity. The sun of thy mercy is shining upon all, and the clouds of thy bounty shower upon all. Thy gifts encompass all. Thy loving providence sustains all. Thy protection overshadows all, and the glances of thy favor are cast upon all. O Lord, grant thine infinite bestowals, and let the light of guidance shine. Illumine the eyes, gladden the hearts with abiding joy. Confer a new spirit upon all people, and bestow upon them eternal life. Unlock the gates of true understanding, and let the light of faith shine resplendent. Gather all the people beneath the shadow of thy bounty, and cause them to unite in harmony, so that they may become as the rays of one sun, as the waves of one ocean, and as the fruit of one tree. May they drink from the same fountain. May they be refreshed by the same breeze. May they receive illumination from the same source of light. Thou art the giver, the merciful, the omnipotent.
Thank you. So now we're going to have some words from the Earth Charter. Again, this was a document that was consulted on by people all over the world for almost a decade and was launched in the year 2000. at the Peace Palace in the Netherlands. And when you think about the year 2000 and the changes that we've seen since that time, it gives special meaning to these words. Stand at a critical moment in Earth's history, a time when humanity must choose its future. As the world becomes increasingly interdependent and fragile, the future at once holds great peril and great promise. To move forward, we must recognize that in the midst of a magnificent diversity of cultures and life forms, we are one human family and one Earth community with a common destiny. We must join together to bring forth a sustainable global society founded on respect for nature, universal human rights, economic justice, and a culture of peace. Towards this end, it is imperative that we, the peoples of Earth, declare our responsibility to one another, to the greater community of life, and to future generations. The Earth Charter has 16 principles, and these are a few. Protect and restore the integrity of Earth's ecological systems, with special concern for biological diversity and the natural processes that sustain life. Secure Earth's bounty and beauty for present and future generations. Provide all, especially children and youth, with educational opportunities that empower them to contribute actively to sustainable development. So that was in 2000. And then in the year 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, were adopted by all 193 member states of the United Nations as an integral part of Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The SDGs were adopted unanimously by United Nations member states and endorsed by the executive branch of the government of each country. And these are the global goals. So you see there are 17, and number 13 on the bottom left is climate action. So this is the main topic that the Interfaith Climate Group focuses on, but we consider all 17 of these necessary in order to have a sustainable, just, and peaceful future. So the, excuse me, the goals are no poverty, no hunger, good health. And actually, I meant to say, if you would just kind of notice which of these goals attracts your heart, and we can share those in the chat, if you will. So I'll start again. No poverty, no hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, renewable energy, good jobs and economic growth, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace and justice, and partnerships for the goals. So if you would just put the goal that attracts you into the chat, and let's see what we have. No hunger for Nikki. Anyone else want to share? Okay. So what we have is a way of dividing all 17 of those goals into these 6 themes, and we're going to be looking at them, starting with this first one down here of the planet, and this is our topic for today. So we're looking at global goals for the planet to protect our ecosystems for all societies and our children. And so we have 3 themes or goals that we're going to be looking at today in small groups. The first is climate action. The second is life below water. And the third is life on land. And of course, they're also interconnected and interdependent, that we can see them as one thing to protect our ecosystems for societies and our children. So before we break into the discussions, let's see, we're going to, we missed something here. I'm sorry, we need to go back a little bit. And back one more. What happened to our slide about the reflection? Where is our reflection? I feel like it's, I'm sorry, not yet, not yet. Nikki, let's pause that. There it is. There it is. That's the one I'm looking for. No, back one. There it is. So what we're going to do now is take the idea of this climate conversation, or the, sorry, we're going to reflect on the readings and the words of the Earth Charter and the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and think about how you can take the global conversation into your own community. And the second part of this is, what support would you need to do that? And so the idea is that we're going to take 5 minutes to reflect on this. And I need to get you a, I'm going to put in the chat. Let's see if I can find it. Oh dear. Anyway, we're going to take about 5 minutes. You can use paper if you prefer, because we want to write, and I lost the link. But I'll get that to you as soon as I can. Sorry for this. So we want to take about 5 minutes. Nikki's going to start some music, and you're going to think about how can you take this global conversation into your own community, and what support would you need to do that. So Nikki, if you can start the music, please.
As of now. Welcome, Christine, and everyone to our room where we're going to talk about climate action.
Hello, friends. It's wonderful to see each other and to meet for this conversation. We are a smaller group.
Oh, God.
We are a smaller group, and we don't have much time. So I suggest, instead of any long introduction, that we jump right into contributing our thoughts about what we have heard so far about the quotations, or already if you want to share your thoughts about how we can take the UN 75 global conversation into our own community, especially considering climate action. But as I understand, you're welcome to focus on other topic or include other topics as well. And let's stay with this and not with the second question. So who would like to start to share your thoughts, concerns, and interests?
What am I doing in this group?
Yeah, you can just talk. And if I see that this doesn't work, then I'll facilitate a bit more systematically, but just start to talk, unmute yourself, and feel free to contribute your thoughts.
Something comes to mind for me. I'm not sure if you can hear me all right. Sometimes
Yes,
it doesn't come.
you can.
Okay. Something that comes to mind to me in regards to climate action is there seems to be a large separation between the idea that individual people can take actions to affect climate change and the idea that the 100 biggest companies are producing most of, greenhouse gas emissions, for example. And so it's not actually our fault. And that I find sort of sad, because I think the next logical extension of saying it's the company's fault is that there's nothing we can do. And I'm a big proponent of voting with your dollar. And so if these 100 biggest companies are polluting, then pulling your money out of those 100 biggest companies instead of continuing to pay them to destroy the planet. I think that's kind of how I view that disconnect, but I see it a lot.
So that's also an individual action, that we do not support certain companies, but support other ones that are more responsible. Do you have, do others have ideas about what we can do as individuals in our personal actions and to change society? Yes, please, Jenny.
So I've been hatching this plan. I live in the middle of a city in Sunnyvale in Silicon Valley, and we're surrounded by wildfires. We've been locked down for 6 months, right? And I grow all of my own food in my backyard, and I'm like an urban farmer. I have like 30 fruit trees, and I just have been living happily in my little farm. But it occurred to me that wouldn't it be great if a bunch of seniors, healthy, active seniors who love gardening, could start a new kind of pioneer village with prefabricated houses on the outskirts of a city, and that village could be sequestered or locked down if necessary, if there was a pandemic, right? We would be able to function and go on as normal because we live in a little village on the edge of a city, and we grow fruit and vegetables to supply the restaurants in that city. So we would be completely self-sustainable. We could start from scratch. So it could be, we could use eco-concrete, eco housing, and we'd have a little center in the village. The houses would be around a central sort of place of reflection, little mini temple thing and clinic, and eventually other people would come and live there as well, including low-income families and people who are interested in farming. We could do bigger hydroponics. We could grow the concept, but it would be a template that would work in outside of any city across America or across the world as a place that would solve the pandemic problem, the climate problem, and get the old people living healthily and happy. And then I also had this idea that we would have little cabins like that would be used Airbnb style for our families to come and visit. So our grandchildren could come and be with us and participate in our lives as well. That's it. That's my vision, my dream.
It's great. We do need these original ideas in our time, and I think society is ready to explore new ideas. Who else would like to go next?
Well, I think we have to look at this whole situation, whether it's below the water or on land, on a global scale. We have to have a new vision for the world that's articulated in the writings of the faith. And right now I'm in the process of taking a Wilmette Institute course on building new system of world governance. And I find it really invigorating to put forth this, or to develop this concept of world governance and a global solution to all of our problems, all these environmental problems, nuclear proliferation, energy distribution. They're all connected together. And I'm looking at this situation really from a global perspective and trying to, in myself and in my community, develop this global perspective and way of thinking, because its old systems aren't working. I don't care how you twist them and turn them and try to manipulate them. The old systems do not provide the solutions for what the world needs. They're all top down, and they don't include the majority of the people in the decision-making process. And that's where the Ruhi process and those processes that have been developed by the Baha'i community are really helping to bring forth bottom-up approach to and a global approach to our problems facing us in the environment and other issues.
Mhm.
Gregory, I just want to add on to that real quick. Well, not so much add on, but highlight what you said about the fact that trying to slowly manipulate those old systems, I just don't think is effective as well. I think we really do need a kind of going back to square one and changing the way we even think about our prioritization of what goes into our global systems. And I'm just really happy to have heard you say that, because I completely agree.
Chris, I heard a new definition this morning of a word that was developed not too long ago called youthquake. It's a combination of the word youth and earthquake, and it's the youth shaking up the world. And it's going to be you guys. It's your time to go forward and move the world in this new direction, I think.
For the youth, it's easier to have new ways of thinking. Older people are more set in their ways, and we definitely need new approaches. And what you have brought up so far is that we need to change our individual actions, but that this is not enough, that we also need social change, and we need a global perspective. And as you have seen, we have 17 sustainable development goals. And when you look at climate action goal, this is not possible to solve climate change in isolation. You can only make progress with tackling this issue when you also work on the other goals as well, on the social and other environmental goals. So we need a change of mind. What are the spiritual prerequisites, or what are the principles that we need to apply to be able to have the motivation and the vision for reaching these goals?
I think that one thing we need is, because if we look at our world right now, like we can teach about climate change, and the whole world could have so much knowledge about it, and every person could have every bit of knowledge that they need to turn around climate change. But if countries are fighting against each other, and because it's a global problem, and even though it's the people that make up society, if each individual person is doing their own thing, then like what people are saying about how we need to have like community gardens and be sustainable on our own. We can have our own gardens, but what if our garden dies or whatever, and then we have the problem again. So I think one thing we need that could be helpful is if we all work together and have unity.
Yes, Gregory? Oh, you did not, okay. You're muted. Gregory, you're muted, yes.
Can I get a clarification? Do you mean as Baha'is or as citizens of the world at large?
At large, and including the Baha'is. So Baha'u'llah, of course, he brought that teaching that we are all one human family, you know, and if we really internalize this as a humanity, that we are one family, it will change the way we look at all of these goals. It will broaden our perspective. Baha'u'llah said, let your vision be world embracing rather than confined to your own self. And this will change, you know, the way we perceive the world and the way we act in all aspects of our lives. Do you have other thoughts on spiritual perspectives?
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
It'll be pretty short. I've seen many writings in the Baha'i faith about how important our environment is to our spirituality, and it got me curious about other faiths. And I actually went through and I found in many other faiths, and then even, of course, in people who are atheists, still pull a spiritual feeling from the environment. So I think there's a great opportunity to pull people from all kinds of belief systems, because all belief systems put value on our physical world.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And there is, I mean, there is a great interfaith movement and movement within many religions themselves to promote environmental sustainability and climate justice. You find that really in different Christian denominations, in Islam, and Jewish initiatives. It's quite amazing. And the Pope has been quite leading with his encyclicals. And we can all learn from each other in this way.
Well, I think looking at one of the questions here, how can we take the global conversation into your community? I think the first thing is one of the first things is to assess what types of action are going on. You know, you're like interfaith groups like Interfaith Power and Light and ecumenical ministries conversations. I'm involved in one with in Portland, Oregon here on racism right now. Mm-hmm. And so what kind of movements are there already taking place that need your support and that we can join in and be a part of? Because we know that the lesser peace is not going to be brought about by the Baha'is themselves. It's going to be brought about by the greater community buying into the system that we need a global solution to the problems that face us today. We can still, within our Baha'i communities, develop our spiritual awareness and our perspective and our strength, spiritual strength, that we can share with the world. But just an assessment of what's already taking place I think is one of the first steps. And
I think we could do like service projects and stuff, like to book where people can make donations to maybe something that supports climate change.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think the youth and children, they can do much with learning about the issues and talking about it, and then bringing change in their own families and having these service projects, as you mentioned. Now, Jenny, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so in my community, I joined a group called Sunnyvale Urban Forest Association, and it's part of a wider network called Canopy. And it's just a little group that talks about how to work to save all the trees in Sunnyvale and how to plant new ones and have all these community service efforts. And we do it as a group. I'm the only Baha'i in the group. But Last month we co-hosted a climate action forum, a candidate forum together with the youth of Sunnyvale's climate action teenagers. So we joined together and had this candidate forum. It was completely non-partisan because all three candidates for mayor belonged to the same party anyway. So there was no partisan discussion whatsoever. It was never even mentioned, but we got to talk to them about the importance of social action and what we care about, what we're concerned about. And I think that's a very easy step for all of us to take. You just find a fairly non-partisan group and work with them.
Many people these days are really interested in these conversations and getting together, what you just say, you know, to find better ways to, as a society, to make progress with these issues locally, but then also globally. So we have some who have not said that much yet. Please, we have a couple of minutes to give you the chance to contribute. Or otherwise, we'll just continue.
In listening to others' comments, I just had a slogan that popped into my mind. And I just think of selflessness in thought and action.
That's a really good thing. And you may have seen the new statement by the Baha'i international community on government befitting humanity and the path to a just global order. And they also, you know, emphasize that point of having this selflessness as individuals, but then also in policy making. And it says, for example, in that statement, leaders and policymakers are thus confronted with a critical question in considering the merits of any proposed action, be it local, national, or international. Will a decision advance the good of humankind in its entirety? So it's our vision must be free from narrow interests, be it narrow personal interests, national interests, and business interests. You know, we also need the business community be a part in climate action, as well as all the other agents, government and civil society.
The question that we were given at the beginning, my daughter and I were talking about it, and she was saying, you know, we just have to talk about it. We just have to talk to our communities about this issue. And that and the discussion here made me think about some neighborhood community building work that's going on right now in our community. And the two main people who spearheaded this are really emphasizing when they're going around to the neighbors, and of course they're doing it with masks and at a distance, that the community building work, the intention is, of course, to focus on justice and to share that all have the answers, that everyone needs to contribute their part, that this is not a service that's being provided, but everyone's help is needed. And I'm thinking that the issue of the climate discussion is similar, that we need to talk together and find out the needs of the community.
Thank you. That was a good concluding remark.